Immigration crackdown in Chicago continues, with ICE enforcement across the city ramping up.
America, Chicago officially declared war on federal immigration enforcement, and what I'm about to show you is absolutely insane. Liberal activists are now using, get this, whistles to warn illegal immigrants when ICE agents are nearby, essentially operating as lookouts for people who broke our immigration laws. But here's where it gets really crazy. Federal agents are getting physically attacked while trying to do their jobs, and Democrat politicians are encouraging this type of resistance. Meanwhile, illegal vendors at Chicago's Swap-O-Rama are crying about boycotts after ICE raids, and more arrests are happening at O'Hare Airport every single day.
Just yesterday, Chicago hosted one of the largest peaceful No Kings protests across the nation. But then last night, this was the scene in Broadview, very different, with protesters clashing with officers at that ICE facility about 15 miles west of downtown. This has been the scene of struggles for weeks now.
What is up, guys? Tyson Dela Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. This is exactly what happens when local Democrats decide that they're above federal law. You get chaos, you get violence, and a complete breakdown of law and order. Let me break down this Chicago disaster for you because it's getting worse by the day. Let me tell you about what's really happening in Chicago because this is straight up obstruction of justice designed as activism. Liberal activists have created something called the People's Patrol, basically a network of 180 volunteers who patrol Chicago suburbs looking for ICE agents so they can warn illegal immigrants.
Cristobal Cavazos leads volunteers who patrol the Chicago suburbs on the lookout for ICE.
We have a group called the People's Patrol. There are 180 patrollers that are out there every single day. So when people hear the whistle blow, we know that ICE is around.
These people are literally acting as lookouts for criminals. When they spot ICE agents, get this, guys, they blow whistles to alert illegal immigrants in the area. Think about how backwards this is. American citizens are helping people who broke our immigration laws to avoid federal law enforcement. But wait, it gets worse. These activists aren't just blowing whistles. They're actively interfering with ICE operations. They're showing up at raids, bringing out the protesters, and trying to physically block federal agents from doing their jobs.
We have interrupted ICE raids. We have been there. We've protested ICE. We have brought out neighbors.
The level of organization is incredible here. They have a whole surveillance network set up to track federal agents and coordinate resistance efforts. This isn't spontaneous activism, as I said numerous times. This is organized obstruction of federal law enforcement. And here's what really gets me. These same people who are helping illegal immigrants avoid ICE are the ones complaining about the crime in their neighborhoods. You can't have it both ways. You can't obstruct law enforcement and then wonder why there's no law and order. The situation has gotten so bad that numerous times federal agents are being physically attacked while trying to do their jobs. Just this week, 2 federal immigration agents were assaulted in Bolingbrook while making an arrest.
Bolingbrook police were called to a parking lot on Williamsburg Lane. This happened shortly before 10 this morning. Now, the agents told officers they were trying to arrest a man when 2 women approached them and began hitting them in the head. The man and woman then ran away. At this time, no one is in custody. The agents declined medical attention.
This is what happens when Democrat politicians create an environment where people think that they can attack federal agents with impunity. When you have mayors and governors openly defying federal law, it sends a message that violence against federal agents is acceptable. The protests at the Broadview ICE facility have turned violent multiple times. Illinois State Police had to make 4 arrests Saturday night after declaring an unlawful assembly. 15 more people were arrested Friday for not staying in the designated protest areas. But here's what mainstream media won't tell you. Over 1,500 people have been detained since Operation Midway Blitz began, and most of them are just regular illegal immigrants who have been living here unlawfully. Now let's talk about what happened at Chicago's Swap-O-Rama, because this story perfectly illustrates the backwards thinking of these liberal activists. ICE conducted a raid at this flea market and detained at least 15 people. And now there's a boycott movement because people think the business should have done more to protect illegal immigrants.
Vendors at a popular flea market on the back of the Yards neighborhood are pleading with the public and the owners for support and protection following an ICE operation.
Let me break this down for you. Vendors at the Swap-O-Rama are now begging for support because attendance is down after the ICE raid. They're saying people are scared to come shop or open up their stands because they might get racially profiled. But here's my take on the situation. If you're legal, you have nothing to worry about. ICE isn't randomly grabbing people based on how they look. They're conducting targeted operations based on intelligence and investigations.
Maritza Jaimes' parents have been selling boots for several decades at the Swap-O-Rama on Ashland in the Back of the Yards neighborhood. They, with many others, are feeling the impact of low attendance with empty aisles and even closed stands on this Sunday afternoon.
Because we have seen how federal agents don't take any regard to what your immigration status is. You know, you're just getting racially profiled based on the way you look. So I think people are scared regardless of their immigration status.
The vendors are complaining that a boycott would hurt Latino families who depend on this income. But you know what? If you're operating a business that employs illegal immigrants or caters to people who are here unlawfully, maybe you should reconsider your business model. Alderwoman Julia Ramirez said the raid was chilling and called for businesses to create safe spaces on private property. Safe spaces for what? People who broke federal immigration law?
According to Alderwoman Julia Ramirez, it was around 10 o'clock Thursday morning when more than 20 federal agents arrived at the Swap-O-Rama and detained at least 15 people. In a statement, she said, "Yesterday, Saturday, there were very few vendors and customers. It was chilling to see the vacancy. These forms of escalation are instilling fear throughout our city, and it's time for businesses and elected officials alike to work together to create safe spaces on private property."
The ICE operations aren't just happening at a flea market. They're also retargeting O'Hare Airport hard. Border Patrol agents just arrested 11 rideshare drivers at O'Hare, and news outlets are saying that the impact on the airport is significant.
The rideshare staging lot at O'Hare International has nearly 500 fewer vehicles these days. Uber and Lyft drivers say they are afraid to work at the airport since federal agents raided the lot multiple times. The most recent was Saturday.
But here's what's interesting. Legal drivers with green cards are supporting these raids because illegal drivers have been saturating the market.
Can you sign in an Uber account, and I coming to rent that from you, and I work as under your name, and there is too many people doing like that.
One legal driver explained how the scam works. Illegal immigrants rent Uber accounts from legal drivers and then work under their names. This creates unfair competition for people who are here legally and follow the rules. Homeland Security confirmed that the 11 arrested drivers had criminal history, including domestic battery, DUI, visa overstays, and final orders of removal. These weren't just people trying to make an honest living. These were criminals who were already ordered to leave the country. What's really telling about this whole situation is how Democrat politicians are responding. Instead of supporting federal law enforcement, they're actively working to obstruct ICE operations and protect people who are here illegally. Chicago Alderman Raymond Lopez, who's actually one of the few Democrats with common sense, pointed out that if they really want to solve this problem, they need immigration reform. But he's also calling for neighborhood vigilantism to stop fighting against the federal government.
Chicago City Alderman Raymond Lopez has often been at odds with his Democratic colleagues on immigration.
If we really want to get beyond where we have, neighborhood vigilantism fighting against the federal government, then we need to find a permanent solution for the long-term undocumented.
Lopez is suggesting something similar to Reagan's Immigration Reform and Control Act of 1986, which gave nearly 4 million undocumented immigrants citizenship or permanent residency. He's even proposing charging $2,500 per amnesty application. But here's the problem with that approach. It rewards people who broke our immigration laws while punishing the people who followed the legal process. Why should someone who entered the country illegally get a path to citizenship when people who applied legally are still waiting in line? The federal judge who issued a temporary restraining order restricting ICE's use of tear gas and pepper spray is also part of the problem. Judge Sarah Ellis is requiring immigration officers to wear body cameras and limiting their ability to control violent protesters.
This after Judge Sarah Ellis issued a temporary restraining order restricting the use of tear gas and pepper spray on protesters and journalists, going on to require require immigration officers wear body cameras after apparent violations of her TRO.
The situation has gotten so bad that President Trump asked the Supreme Court to allow him to deploy National Guard to help protect federal agents. This is what happens when local governments completely fail to maintain law and order. The state of Illinois had a limited time to respond to Trump's emergency appeal, which means the Supreme Court could move quickly on this decision. Given their track record of supporting Trump's immigration policies, there's a good chance they'll allow the National Guard deployment. Think about what this means. Federal agents trying to enforce immigration law need military protection because local Democrats have created such a hostile environment. This isn't normal and it's not sustainable. The fact that we need National Guard to protect ICE agents tells you everything you need to know about how far Chicago has fallen. When federal law enforcement needs military backup to do their job, you've got a complete breakdown of civil society. Let me tell you what's really happening here. Chicago Democrats have created an environment where federal law doesn't apply. They're encouraging resistance to ICE, protecting people who are here illegally, and allowing violence against federal agents. The vendors at Swap-O-Rama are missing the point here. If your business depends on illegal immigrants, then maybe you should find a new business model. Legal immigrants and American citizens shouldn't have to compete with people who are here unlawfully. Rideshare situation at O'Hare is a perfect example of how illegal immigrants hurt legal workers. When illegal immigrants can rent accounts and work under fake names, it creates unfair competition and drives wages down for everyone.
With the focus now on the rideshare industry, drivers urge Uber and Lyft customers to verify details of their ride. And if they don't match up, don't take the ride.
Before you get under the car, check the plate number, check the car, and you'll be fine after that.
The activists blowing whistles and running surveillance operations think that they're helping people, but they're actually making the situation much worse. When you obstruct federal law enforcement, you create chaos and encourage more illegal activity. And the violence against federal agents is completely unacceptable. These people are trying to do their jobs and enforce the law. When you attack federal agents, you're attacking the rule of law itself. America, what's happening in Chicago is a perfect example of what occurs when local Democrats decide they're above federal law. You get organized resistance networks, violence against federal agents, and businesses that depend on illegal activity crying victim when law enforcement shows up. The whistleblowing activists, the violent protesters, and the politicians encouraging resistance are all part of the same problem. They don't believe in the rule of law. They think immigration law is optional and that federal agents are the enemy. But here's the reality. Immigration law exists for a reason. We have a legal process for people who want to come to America, and the people who bypass the process are breaking the law. It is that simple. The vendors at Swap-O-Rama and the illegal rideshare drivers at O'Hare and the people being protected by whistleblower activists all have one thing in common. They are here illegally, and they're facing the consequences of their actions. President Trump is right to ask for the National Guard support, and the Supreme Court should approve this request. When local government fails to maintain law and order, federal intervention becomes necessary. Let me know what you guys think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.